Hi folks, welcome to the Serverless Edge video. We've decided to start recording the three of us having a chat about things, which is probably dangerous. My name is Dave Anderson, engineer at Bizarre Voice and author here at the Serverless Edge. And we've got, I'll let the gents introduce themselves there. Mark, do you want to go first?
Yep, Mark McCann, sort of contributor, author at the Serverless Edge. Yeah.
Michael O'Reilly, still trying my arm at architecture at Globalization Partners and also a contributor for the Serverless Edge.
We just figured we'd catch up and see what the crack has been this week. So we've had a busy week this week. We were all attending the DevOps Enterprise Summit, US in Vegas / virtual.
Yeah, unfortunately, we didn't get to go to Vegas.
No.
We were there in spirit. So it's a good event. I mean, I think that's what the IT Revolution Press event, and Gene Kim is kind of the chief kind of chair of the event. I've been a few times in person over the years, and it's going from strength to strength. I must admit now it's about year 6, I think.
Yeah, it's definitely a very strong lineup of content and speakers. I'm blown away by the quality of some of the talks that I attended. So yeah, it's a very impressive lineup. It's a little bit daunting whenever we were asked to present it at, in such a esteemed company. So it sort of raised the bar a little bit for us.
Yeah, and for anyone who hasn't been to that conference, it's usually twice a year. It's kind of towards the end of the year, in October in the US, and there's one in London, usually around kind of June time. And it's a lot of the I would say the leading DevOps and transformation thinking. A lot of the speakers at that are presenting their ideas. People like Jez Humble, Nicole Forsgren, Kirsten, Gene Kim himself, the endless list, John Wallace. It's lots of people.
I think one of the things that really struck me was how practical and how actionable a lot of the talks were and the guidance was. There was people talking about their journey as they were going through their journey. It wasn't all shiny slides and consultants sort of speak. It was all very real and very practical, and a lot of the stories of their transformations and their embracing of DevOps. It was really good to see. It wasn't just sugar coated. There was lots of lessons learned in there as well.
Yeah, for a digital conference, there you could tell there was a lot of organization that went into it. I think it did have that sort of conference feel to it. You did have to go in, you had to get your schedule together, which is kind of good. When you think of virtual conferences, well, what's the schedule for? Well, I thought it was good around the Slack. When you went into the Slack, you're actually look at the Slack and you kind of go, wow. But then when you get going and you're on the various tracks and you kind of, when you know there's somebody there you kind of want to talk to, or you kind of just want to sit and watch the feedback or what they're kind of talking about, you kind of go on and get that conversation going with them there and then, which I thought was pretty good. And even this morning, the day after, I was kind of in, I kind of picked up on a video that I kind of wanted to watch and just didn't get to because I was still working during the week while this was running. But I was able to kind of go in and catch up on the questions and the notes from the live session, which I thought was actually a wee kind of added advantage there that I wasn't expecting. So yeah, really good experience.
I think it's a good thing for us as well, sitting in Belfast and it being in Vegas, is a lot of the sessions were on kind of in the evening. So we kind of so that was nice. Like me and you, was it me and you went to the event in London? Didn't you go that time in London? It's about 3 or 4 years ago. The DevOps Enterprise in London.
No. I think it was the Web Summit I was at in London that time. I think you went over with a bunch of other engineers to the DevOps.
Yeah, I can't remember. Many things like that. I don't know where you go, but the thing I thought was most impressive is it felt like the physical event. Do you know what I mean? It was the same. A lot of the expo was the same. You get the same type of people knocking about. What I like about this event is there's a lot of seasoned practitioners in kind of IT and technology. I talked to a bunch of people working for companies like, like Nike and banks and Air Force, and there's lots of leading industry companies and very experienced kind of architects and digital leaders. So it was a really good group of people, great community.
Yeah, very, very open and engaging. Everyone was very engaging and willing to contribute, and we've seen that when we did the lean coffee, but even just the Slack channels and the back and forward, and people asking for guidance or help or advice. It was just very, very informal and nice.
Here's a test for the two of you. So you two did the talk, and you definitely prepped it ahead of time. But did you get the nerves before the talk was about to go on? Were you you talk at a conference, you're sitting there and you're just eager to get going, and you're eager to get started. Did you have to see
it's a different nervousness. It's not the same as you're getting ready to speak and you need to deliver and you have the adrenaline rush, but you're still curious about how's this going to land, what questions are we going to get. And it's funny, beforehand I was prepping all my mind maps and just making sure we had a lot of the source material that led into the presentation at hand, in case somebody asked a really tricky in-depth question about one of the elements of the flywheel or one of the points there. So there was more of that, prepping for what type of questions are we going to get. I wonder if this is going to land, how's it going to resonate with this audience. Thankfully, our worst fears were not realized. It seemed to go pretty well.
There's almost I'd say there's performance anxiety and there's content anxiety. So I didn't get any performance anxiety, but I got performance anxiety. You're like, oh my god, what happens if I fall off the stage? You actually physically feel nervous. And then content anxiety is, am I going to be eaten up by the crowd because this is crap? So I get content anxiety, which I think you always get. You get into the imposter syndrome.
No, I mean, even at the end of it, I was kind of feeling like, I'm sure the guys feel, when you get a talk done and you're thinking, okay, that's done. It's almost that, that release that you get. I don't know. I don't know if it was sort of, I wasn't obviously doing the talk. I was, but I certainly felt it. And it was kind of good to get it there. And I thought the reception was really good too. So I don't know. I thought it was, I enjoyed it.
Well, and then for everybody, we did that was our first talk, kind of previewing some of the content of the book we've been working on for IT Revolution Press. So that book's due out next year, and it's kind of about the what's the full title of the talk? The Serverless Edge, using Wardley Maps to I've forgotten, what was it again? Using Wardley Maps to drive business and technology
evolution.
I get you now.
So
so the official. Do you want the official one?
Go for it.
You go, drum roll. The Serverless Edge, using Wardley Mapping with the Value Flywheel for combined business and technology evolution.
That's close.
Very fancy.
So as our first talk, we kind of talked about the Value Flywheel. We explained that, and then we did a quick Wardley map of just to show the technique in action. And just quickly, the Value Flywheel is 4 stages. There's clarity of purpose, which is the first phase. Do you know what you're doing? The second phase is challenge. Do you have the right environment to challenge your idea, like psychological safety, etc. The third is next best action. We can do what's the next right thing to do with, serverless first, developer friction, reduce developer friction. And then fourth is the long-term value, sustainability, problem prevention, and just to visualize that flywheel for technology and business. So we kind of explained that. And then for the Craic, we did a Wardley map about a virtual conference, which I think was accurate enough, given we did it a few weeks ago.
Yeah, so it was. And even though we did it just to bring it to life, to bring the flywheel to life, we were actually talking beforehand about the speaker chat, and a lot of the things that we had in that map actually were real. We felt it during the event itself, like so. So we weren't a million miles away with, even though it was just there to be a vehicle to explain the process. But it was pretty good.
Yeah, and for anybody, the talks are all pre-recorded, so we recorded a few weeks ahead of the event. So and we've written up that talk on the blog, serverlessedge.com. So that's out now, and we'll share some links to that in the show notes afterwards. And then we also, Mark and I, we facilitated 2 lean coffees, one on Wednesday, one on Thursday, which I love lean coffee. It's a brilliant format. And the theme of those lean coffees were building internal capability, not consultancy dependency, which was it was a good topic. Lots of vibrant debate. It was great.
It was very good, and it resonates strongly with us because it's the things that we've been building those internal capabilities within our previous organizations. So it's something we have a lot of insight and a lot of scar tissue around. So it was very good to be able to engage with all the other attendees for the Lean Coffee and knock about some of these ideas. And Lean Coffee is just such a fantastic format for just sparking ideas and getting people to engage and talk about their experiences. And it's the return on investment on a Lean Coffee is off the scale. It is just one of the best mechanisms for really opening people up and getting real engaging, meaningful conversations going. So it was really good.
No, I don't know if it was just the talks I was kind of tuning into, but I definitely thought there was a strong theme at this conference around value streams and flow efficiency. And sort of Mick Carson was talking there, the sort of CTO for TaskTop, and then even at that session, at that Lean Coffee session, we were talking with BMK, who was a value stream architect for I think it's the Bank of New Zealand. I think he was from.
Yeah.
And he was all about sort of that flow efficiency and flow optimization, and but again, just kind of really getting introduced to things like Wardley Mapping, and I thought like the Wardley Mapping sort of side of it was very complementary, and sort of almost like a nice iteration on that, which was kind of good, So I definitely think, in terms of where we're coming from, we brought a bit of value there. So it'd be good to see what happens next year, and sort of, if Wardley Mapping starts to penetrate a lot more of the talks, and and you would predict that it would. I don't know.
There was definitely interest in it. A lot of people were interested in it. A lot of people had heard of it, were aware of it, but didn't know how to do it. So there was massive interest.
Yeah, I think, but even throughout the talks I've seen in some of the channels, you can see the continuous evolution towards more product centricity, towards more meaningful work, to more enhanced culture. Those socio-technical things are starting to permeate through a lot of the talks, a lot of the conversations on Slack channels and the Lean Coffee and stuff. So you can see this continued evolution towards much more aligned, much more product aligned, much more meaningful, much more customer centric type work from the traditional hosting organizations through to those product type teams. They're all sort of evolving towards that same sort of destination. Right?
Yeah, definitely. And then remember, for the Lean Coffee, it was funny because at the start of both sessions, we were all kind of violently hunting consultants. It was like, no consultants. And then as we started talking, we were like, well, maybe they're not so bad. So we kind of, we didn't beat up on the consultants too much. We actually did have some consultants in the session, and they self-admitted they were evil. No, sorry, not evil. But it was a good crack. And like anything, the answer was usually, it depends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think a lot of that context dependency and getting situational awareness, you can see that coming through. And a lot of the talks, about, we use Wardley Maps for better situational awareness. We use things like North Star, but value stream mapping, the whole all those sort of processes and techniques help bring that context to bear. So whenever you say it depends on the context, there's now processes and techniques to help you get that context, which is exciting. Yeah. It's something we've leaned heavily on.
And there's a really interesting pattern. The whole thing about leaderless organizations or leaderless leaders. It's that idea of kind of servant leadership. You let the companies go. With that leaderless organization, that next gen organization, people will use things like Wardley Map and North Star to figure out where they're going, and they can supply their own context. With traditional organizations, there's a leader who gives the illusion of no, this is what's happening, Sometimes that's true. Sometimes they don't know what's happening. So I think those are really interesting. And with Simon's Wardley study between traditional and next gen companies, you can see there's the practices are moving into next gen in some companies. So it was really interesting to see that.
Yeah, and I think last night in one of the sessions as well, I thought it was good. We had a good conversation around that sort of ubiquitous language and making sure everyone kind of understands and talks in the same way and understands what everyone else is kind of saying. You know, and you tie that in with a lot of the visibility that a lot of the kind of DevOps organizations are kind of baking into what they do now, then it should give you sort of better, you know, decision-making capabilities. And I thought that was actually pretty neat that, you know, you're starting to see a lot of organizations center around that sort of value stream analysis and also how important visibility is. So I thought that was very present in a lot of the sort of the talks as well, which was good.
Yeah, I watched the Liz Vaughn Jones's talk on shifting left on production excellence with observability, and you're right. I think getting that observability, that visibility across the entire, not only the technical spectrum, but also the business and the people and the culture spectrum, and having much more insights into how everything is performing is massive. And there's a great line they had in that. Production excellence is business excellence. It's really good sort of. I think observability is key to that, and I think people are getting a lot more. They're using metrics in the right way now, not as a stick to beat teams with, but as a vehicle to help improve teams and organizations, and it's good again to see that maturity and that evolution.
Yeah. The other thing I noticed that was quite sort of prevalent, and again, it is a DevOps conference, so of course, Michael, you want to see this stuff, but SRE. And there was some cracking talks there around SRE, and some of the stuff I was kind of going, wow, this is definitely something that you would need to invest in for an organization that is moving fast. A real solid SRE setup. And there's a cracking talk there from a guy called Michael Winslow. I think he's a director for Comcast, or senior director of software engineering. Comcast. He did a real cracking talk around the SRE stuff, and I was just thinking, wow, that's I want some of that. So again, that's another one I'm going to go back and watch and sort of try and take some notes on.
I watched there was a chaos and reliability talk as well. And something that we've been big fans of is trying to introduce that continuous resiliency. And I think it was Courtney Nash and Troy Koss from Capital One. They did a great talk around chaos and that reliability and resiliency. And it's all the stuff that we've been sort of pursuing with well architected and serverless first. It's bringing those characteristics to your solutions is good to see, and it was great talking. Again, it's one of those ones I'll go back and watch again.
Yeah, I mean, the quality of talks is just incredible. There was a great one as well by Ron Westrom, and it's great that he did a great podcast with Gene Kim earlier in the year. So it's great to see him talk. The famous Westrom's organizational culture. He talks about 3 different culture types, and he talks about information flow, how it flows around the company, and he talks about generative, bureaucratic, and pathological. So pathological is low flow of information, bureaucratic is medium, but generative, which is like a learning organization, there's a high flow of information around the org. So he talks about his experience in doing that, and it's he's brilliant. It's super interesting.
Cool. It was also good to see the team topology stuff penetrate a lot of the talks as well, which I thought was good. So that's obviously taken off. And there was one particular talk, I never got to it, but I've got it sort of marked, but they're kind of getting into that sort of minimum viable platform concept, which I think is pretty slick. So you're right in terms of the content.
Yeah, and even if they weren't calling out team topologies directly or explicitly, they were starting to move that way in some of the talks I'd seen, or they were starting to break it up into platform teams and product teams and streamline teams. The thinking was going that direction, whether they called it out explicitly or not.
The nice one called The Art of Platform Engineering, which is a cool talk. There's also a nice it was kind of like an interview with what's his name, Admiral John Richardson, I think. He was a submarine commander for something like 30 odd years, and he was saying he'd been underwater for 11 years in submarines, 11 years underwater. So he was talking about, if you're in a submarine, it's the ultimate kind of distributed organization. You get your vision and you're gone. you're off into the sunset, and you need to act fight. So he had great stuff he was saying about leadership and effectively autonomous teams, etc.
Brilliant.
So that was really interesting to hear the stuff that he was saying.
Yep.
But I must admit, I go ahead, Mark. Sorry.
No, on a security front, again, some of the talks we've seen about sort of shifting left in security and sort of the evolution of the security department from being the department of no to being a much more engaging and enabling sort of function. So I think John Willis did a talk on sort of the DevSecOps and that evolution, but something not surprised, but it's kind of surprised that there was not more people were doing threat modeling. So I think that's still something that's something that we would think, oh yeah, everyone does threat modeling, but it's not wide practice yet.
Surprised by, she says, surprised by the lack of serverless.
Yes,
the elephant in the room. There wasn't a lot of talk about serverless, which was interesting.
I think it was in passing, and maybe it's indicative of where people are at and where their contexts are and what their heritage stacks are and where they are in their journey. So it's maybe not too surprising, but yeah, I'm surprised there wasn't more mention of serverless.
But at the same time, it's it's an event about it's about culture and methods and practice, so it's not really about the technology. So that's not really a bad thing either, because there was a whole bunch of technologies that weren't mentioned,
Exactly.
So but again, I think it's all good. Just being a troublemaker as usual. So I think I really enjoyed the conference. And it's one thing I think we'll stick a link in the show notes, but what I love about the DevOps Enterprise Summit is they're incredibly open about all the presentations and stuff. So there's a GitHub repo with every presentation, both for this event this week in October 2021, and there's been 2 events a year for the last I think 5 or 6 years. So there's about 10 or 12 events of presentations all sitting in a GitHub repo. Yep. And it's wow, I don't know, it's probably about $500,000 worth of consultancy right there.
Yeah.
It's huge value. You could just search in anything there and you'll find some quality content. So we'll share that link afterwards. Yep. That's well worth it to dig through.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think it's just great people all around who well organized, very slick. The platform was great. And just the openness and even having the slides and the videos afterwards is great. Like we've a backlog of content I'm going to have to go back and watch and read, because you just can't do it all during the day because there's so many parallel tracks. But yeah, it's a great community to be part of, and they were very inviting to Dave and myself as well, which is great.
I must say now, I mean, having attended previous events, you join the Slack channel. And they always had Slack channels, even though they were physical events, but you then stay on that Slack channel. So there's 5,000 people on the Slack channel. So that even if you don't go next year, you can still join the Slack channel and follow along. So it builds a fantastic community.
Yeah.
So that's the crack then. So I think, definitely one to check out that online when we start releasing videos, and we'll share a bunch of those notes. So I think that'll do us. Anything else you guys want to say to close out, or leave it at that?
No, nothing that you've haven't already covered. I thought it was a really good event. So until the next time.
Absolutely.
All right, folks. Well, thanks very much. So we'll put a bunch of links in the show notes. Remember to check out the blog, the serverlessedge.com, and the book is
follow us on Twitter as well.
Yep. At Serverless Edge on Twitter, and we'll have another Friday rant come along soon. All right, folks.
And the book is coming out next year.
Yep. Thanks very much. See you. Bye.
Bye. All right, guys.